Watching Sibi Huri Ashton here, and this is bringing Broadway to France, bridging humanity one story at a time. And today I am super jazzed because I have one of my oldest friends here. We've been friends for over 20, 25 years. We both born and raised in Toronto. I know. I need to show him. We met when we were five in
Oh
Toronto.
my.
And um, um, yeah, and through the years, like we have just admired each other and loved on each other. And she is truly a trailblazer in the theater and film or television worlds. So Trey is an award-winning playwright, best-selling author, speaker, creator, dedicated to helping women heal, reclaim their voices, and live authentically. As the author of Black Girl in Love with Herself, as it could be, and the groundbreaking creator of Jack Kink in My Hair, which, by the way, did win a Gemini Award to Illusion. Trey uses storytelling, humor, vulnerability, team sports, self worth, mental health, relationships, personal transformation. Her work inspires audiences to choose themselves, embrace joy, and create lives rooted in purpose. This is what happens when I'm recording when I'm about to go to bed. I know it looks like you're in a very my brain's like, what are you doing? So Trey, it's so fun to reconnect because it has been at least 10 years since we've connected.
Yes, it's been a minute. It's
This
been a
week,
minute.
before we dive in, if this is your first time listening or your 10th time listening and you have not subscribed yet, please go to our Substack. And why Substack? Yes, you can listen on, all your favorite ones like Spotify and Apple, but on Substack is where we have all the show notes. We have really cool footage of Trey
Mm.
with all of our guests in action and behind the scenes. It's just a sexy place to hang out. So go to Bridging Broadway Bridging, bringing Broadway to France.com to make sure you're all subscribed. Okay, Trey, let
Yeah.
us jump into this. You were born and raised in Toronto.
I actually was born in England. So closer to
Well,
France than you know.
darling, Miss, I was born in England. Tell us
I
more.
was born in England in Wembley, to be exact, right behind Wembley Stadium. And I moved to Canada, Toronto, when I was 12. So, yes, I was raised in Toronto, but I did spend quite a significant part of my life in England. And then because my parents were no longer together, my father still lived in England. So I would go back to England probably like every 2 years. So I have a very strong connection and tie to England as well. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just learned something new about you.
Thank you,
Mom
girl.
told me that 20 years ago when we met and I had menopausal brain. Oh, wait, well, I'm not cold. Okay. Um, so my question for you is that you were breaking ground. So before we talk about the kink in my hair, did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. Um, what inspired you on this path of being an actor and a playwright and just being the remarkable human that you are?
Well, I was actually raised by my grandmother in England. My grandmother used to work for London Transport. Um, and her job actually, my grandmother came over. She was one of the Windrush population of domestics who came from Jamaica on a boat. And they came to England to do a lot of the menial jobs that the British people didn't want to do. And my grandmother's job was to actually go and sweep, not vacuum, sweep the trains at night. And she always had this wonderful dream and really inspired me that she wanted to be an actress. And I think my grandmother lived vicariously through me. She wanted to act, she wanted to sing, but she also had 6 children she needed to look after,
Wow.
plus her two grandchildren she was raising, one of them being me. And my grandmother was very amused by me. Like I feel if there is anyone who could say that I was her living muse, it would have been me. And she always pushed me. Like she thought I was the most entertaining person ever. And there used to be this show in England called Top of the Pops, where it used to every single Friday night, they would say what was the top record. Now I'm aging myself in England. And my grandmother would go out every single Saturday, buy the record, put it on the record player, we would play it, and she would tell me to sing it and memorize it. So people are always amazed about how much music I know,
Oh my God,
but it
that's
was because of my
amazing.
grandmother. And unlike you, Cindy, I could not sing to save my damn life. But my grandmother was a believer in me. And she used to always say, well, do you think that Madonna could sing if she didn't have all of those fancy studio people? So it's okay. Once you get in a studio, we're gonna make it. Right? And that was her thing. She used to say to me all the time. Right? She was like, all you need is a belief, and that's
Oh my
really
God.
what. And so once I realized that I couldn't sing, we actually went into the studio and I recorded a record. I think 5 people bought it. 2 of them was my aunts and one of them was my grandmother, and then she must have gave it away to someone else. And I realized I couldn't sing, and I think that kinda solidified it for my grandmother that she's pushed me into, "Well, why don't you act?" And that's how I started around acting, and it really was about honoring her and
Mm.
knowing that she really believed in me. She always used to be like, "You're special, you're amazing," and I started out just kinda imitating a lot of my family members, and we would have these big family, gatherings, and my grandmother would be like, "Tree, show Auntie Gloria how you do Auntie Gloria,"
Oh my
right?
God.
And that's how I started. It was really honoring my working class grandmother, and that's how I got into it. Yeah.
Amazing. So let's talk about that kink in your hair.
Yes. Mhm.
Where did the inspiration tell everybody a little bit about the concept of that play, which then turned into a TV series in Canada. Talk to us about like the concept of it and then where did it's freaking hilarious. Like it's
Yeah.
hilarious. And especially back when it came out, it just had so much representation that was needed for the black. So tell me more. Tell the whole
Yeah.
all more.
So as I started to go out into the world, um, I was under this false impression that if you were talented, the world would reward you, right?
Mm,
And if you worked hard, you would be rewarded even greater. And that just wasn't happening for me. I was going out on auditions after auditions. And I was getting a lot of stereotypical roles as a Black woman. I was getting like crackhead number one, baby
oh,
mama number two, woman on welfare number three. And I just got really frustrated. And I remember going home one day after being told to act more Black, that I didn't act Black enough in an audition, um, that I was frustrated. And I remember saying to my grandmother, like, they just keep giving me these crappy roles. Like, it's just so crappy. And my grandmother said, well, if they're giving you crap and you're upset about it, well, why don't you write your own crap? It must be better than the crap they're giving you. Right? Why can't you write something? And I was like, Grandma, I don't know how to write. I've never written anything. And she's like, well, they don't know how to write, but they're giving you something. Right? And that's how the king came about. It was supposed to be a one woman show, funny enough.
yeah.
I wanted to see a show where I felt Black women were represented and authentically showed the different layers to Black women. I was tired of seeing the welfare mom, the angry Black woman, all of those kind of things. And I said, I
Mhm.
wanted to see it a bit layered. And I also thought I wanted to have a show where, at that time, people were saying Black people didn't come out to theater, young people weren't coming out to theater. And I knew they weren't coming out because there was nothing that represented us. And I wanted to tell stories that didn't fall under the Shakespearean lens. I didn't want to see another Raisin in the Sun again. And I really felt
Mm,
that as a Canadian, there was very little to no representation of what it was as the immigrant experience, as being a Black Canadian Jamaican. And so I started writing these monologues, and I thought it would be a great way to showcase myself and my talent. And I was like, I could play all of the roles. There were like 8 monologues, and I was like, these are women that I love and cherish, and I think this is gonna be amazing. And I asked about 6 of my unemployed friends who were actors as well, who were so excited to do this reading for me.
yeah.
And when I did the first reading, it was at the Now Lounge in Toronto,
Oh, yeah.
and I took notes. And one of the feedbacks that people were like, we love the play, but the play the monologues dealt with some really heavy issues. Like there was a woman talking about police brutality and losing her child. There was another monologue that talked about colorism in the Black community. Another one that dealt with incest. Another monologue about a Black girl coming out to her family and being estranged from her mother. There was like, it was, and then there was just one funny monologue, which was based on my grandmother, Miss Enid, about an older woman falling in love with her neighbor next door, 80-year-old woman falling in love with Mr. Charlie next door. And the feedback came back from people was like, it's brilliant and it's wonderful, but we miss your comedy, like some of your comedy that you used to do.
Yeah,
And I
you're
think it's a
so
bit too
right.
heavy. And that's when I wrote the character Novelette and I became Novelette.
Yeah,
And The Kink was the first play I ever wrote. I put it in the Toronto Fringe Festival, and the rest is history. Like it went on to do the Canadian Broadway. It did the 30-year anniversary of Theatre Passe Muraille. It became this like play that just had a life of its own, became a TV show, and all of those things, and was at a 2,000 seat theater. Um, but when we started, it was at the Toronto Fringe in a 70 seat theater, and that's how we started. And it just kept going, and it just really resonated with people. And it became a play that just wasn't for the Black community, even though it was a love letter to especially Black women.
yeah,
But I'm a big believer, Cindy, that if you write from a level of authenticity
yeah.
and a level of truth, people will find themselves in your work and it will transcend race, class, gender, sexuality. People will find themselves. And that's how the kink came about. Yeah.
Trey, this is so inspiring on so many levels, and I want to frame a few things. The first is you just have to start at
Yeah.
being perfect.
Yeah.
And so many of us, including myself, it's like we keep trying to get it perfect instead of let it be messy. So we
Yeah.
started with monologues
Yeah.
and they were brilliant and you got feedback and that feedback allowed you to shine your comedic sense into the world.
Yes. Yes.
And then from there, it was like, oh, this is more than a one woman show. This is bigger than that. And it literally was organic. But the other big piece of this, aside from the big piece, the first piece, like I said, is just start.
Just
You
start.
got to just start and let it be messy. Play in the mess and
Yes.
don't shame yourself, celebrate yourself.
That part. That
I
part.
know.
I
Like,
really
I,
think too, Cindy, what I had on my side, was a level of ignorance. I wasn't part of the theater community. I
mhm,
knew nothing about a dramaturge. I knew nothing about there was supposed to be a certain amount of rehearsal and rewrites. I knew none of that kind of stuff, right? I just knew that I wanted to do a play. And when one of my friends told me about the Fringe Festival, I had never heard of the Fringe Festival. I thought she said the French Festival, and I was like, the play ain't French. Like, why are we going to put it in the French Festival? And she was
yeah.
like, no, Trey, the Fringe. And I allowed myself to be messy because I didn't know any difference. I didn't have a fancy MFA behind my name. I didn't know that I was supposed to go to a certain amount of classes and do this or do that. I just knew there was something that I wanted to do. And my grandmother, God bless her, was one of the people who was just like all of the time, oh, this is good. Yes, put it out there, you
I
know?
love it.
And so I just did it. And so I didn't allow myself to rethink the process because I didn't know there was a process,
Yeah.
right? And it wasn't until I did my second work, then I realized I started getting in my head. Because of course,
Mhm.
the more successful you are, the more then you realize, oh, you're supposed to, do draft 1 to 100 before you actually release it to the world. That's what they have you believing. Oh, you're supposed to sit down with a dramaturge every single week. I didn't know what a damn dramaturge was. I knew none of these things, right? And I
Yeah.
just did it. And I think that's what spoke to people was the authenticity and the messiness of it, that it didn't feel like another Shakespearean production. It didn't feel like another theater. Like even something as simple, I remember when I did The King, people said to me it was very amateur of me to come on stage and thank people and shake hands after and after the show say, hey, thank you so much for coming and talk to the audience before the show. People never used to do that. Remember, you used to just go into the theater,
Crazy.
the
I
lights would
always
go
have
down,
done that.
right? Now everybody does that. 20 something years ago, they didn't. You would come into a theater and the lights would go down and up come the lights. I didn't know that. I came from an environment where
Wow.
my grandmother watched Jamaican theater all the time, where they talked back to the audience. That was one of the things that a lot of theater critics said was Trey Anthony's audience talks back to the stage. I came from a family where my grandmother would watch wrestling and talk back to Hulk Hogan on the TV. That's what I know is call and response, right? I come from very working class roots. So theater, I had no idea about. But what I did know is how to make people feel part of the experience, feel wanted, wanting to be part of the story. I knew that because I witnessed it every Saturday when my grandmother was watching wrestling. That's how I knew.
That's hysterical. The bridge
Right?
from wrestling to theater. But
Theater.
I love this because what I'm hearing is that you broke boundaries and you made it accessible and you made it about the audience, which theater should be about the audience.
Yes.
It's always astonishing to me how much posturing we still see in the acting
Yes.
world and the musical theater world. Um and it's like it's just about connection, people. That's
Yeah.
it. It's
It's
about what does that look like? Break all the fucking rules and just connect.
yes.
Truth and rawness. I really learned this because I had written my Liberated show 2 years ago almost. And I did it in 6 weeks and I was still rewriting 3 days before. And I got up there and it was the most imperfect thing ever. And that's where I was saying in Arabic and did the homage to Palestine and peace and it was the best reviews. That and another show were the best reviews I've ever gotten. And it was so raw. I was fucking up words. Even a song I had written, I forgot the lyrics of a song that I actually had written. And I was like, what is wrong with you? And it was really messy, but it landed.
Yeah.
And it's just let go of the perfection.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's that thing of you are never going to be fully ready. And so you need to just do what feels right and trust that the audience is there to come along on the ride. But I feel a lot of us get caught up in our head of like the process and what's supposed to happen and how many weeks it's supposed to run and how much money you're supposed to have before you actually start rehearsals. And oh, I
Yeah.
don't have a costume designer. I don't have a lighting this. I didn't know any of those things. I had no idea what these things meant. And so
Yeah.
because I didn't know, I was just like, oh, okay, well, let's go. Let's do this. Right. And I think audiences will always respond to authenticity, right? They
Yeah.
like messy. People like messy because all of us are a bit messy, right? Right. And and because we have these curated lives now on Instagram, I think people even now are more hungry for the mess because everyone's kind of like, how do we live up to that?
Yeah.
So they're looking for, I think that's where the connection comes from, is people who look imperfect and who are just doing it anyways. And I sometimes have to, I'm really glad that I started this way because I think if I had started in like going the traditional way of going to theater school, getting an MFA, doing all of those things, I don't think I ever would have started because I don't think the theater world would have embraced me. Even to this day, I don't feel embraced. I always say I'm the stepchild of theater because I don't do things the way traditional theater has done it.
Yeah. I love that you're talking about this because I'm the same way. And I talk about this in other podcast episodes of living with chronic illness. My poor little body, my gorgeous, brilliant, brave body,
Mm.
strong body, could not be auditioning 24/7 like most actors and pounding the pavement. Couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. Um, and I've had a lot of disabilities with my ribs being taught, wired together and the damaged lung from one of my surgeries. And so when people hear me sing, they don't realize what it takes for me to be able to sing. And I've had
Mm.
criticisms that I take too much breaths. It's like, listen, asshole, you try to live in this body. Like, you try to do this. Because we could take a breath and make it dramatic, but still make it work. Like, you
Yeah.
know, but it goes back to, especially in today's society, more and more people are struggling with mental illness. They're struggling with chronic
Mm.
I know that in the US, it's like over 51% of people are chronically ill. It's really
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
well, the food there is so contaminated, it's awful. People are like, "Wait, you eat everything?" I thought you had a restricted diet. I'm like, "Not since I moved to Europe. I just eat what I want now." It's called
Yeah.
free here of not eating chemicals every time I open my mouth. Anyways, but again, it just goes back to anything goes. And I feel like we're right now with all the disruption of the world, we are reorganizing back to our roots. And I know I could be totally ignorant in saying this, and maybe I'm wrong, but as much as everything out there is there's so much horrifying things, I'm also seeing a lot of humanity. I'm also seeing a lot of people being forced to think differently and to
Mhm.
break down the systems that haven't been working. And I really hope the other side of this comes sooner than later because it's a shit show. But I kind of call this our anything goes in olden days of Lexicon, like anything goes, you know, it's our anything goes. Like,
Yeah.
right? More than ever, be bold because there's no more rules. The whole world is in shambles. Is what rules are we following? Stop following the fucking
Yeah.
rules.
Exactly. There's no rules. And I think especially now I posted it yesterday. I thought it was so funny. There was a creator on Instagram who said the job market and the economy is so shitty right now that some of you will actually have to go and pursue your own dreams. I thought it is so and I think that's where we're at right now. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's offering you a job, right? Especially if you are over 40, like, and
Yeah.
it just made me laugh because I feel that's where we're at right now. Like, this is the time you better pursue your dream because nothing is promised anymore. The job security, that world is gone.
Nope.
And this is what it is. Like, you better just work on your dream. Like, if not now, when? And I thought that was like the most funniest thing I've seen on Instagram in a while. It was like, now's the time. Like, I think you better just go pursue your dream. Like, forget about the job.
I know. I mean, you've already lost it all anyways.
Yeah.
Like, experiments. I mean, what else? Like, just go for it at this point. So it's interesting to kind of figure, like, to kind of close this piece out around the power of self-policing, like, because I want to move into you being an author and a mentor and the brilliant work you do there. For those of you who don't know, I actually have a couple of courses. One of them is specific on artists on how to monetize for creatives and artists and speakers. Like, how do you get the speaking gigs that pay? And how do you get sponsorships and brand partnerships to
Mm.
fund your projects? Because it's not free money and people don't understand that. How do you leverage media? Like, so I have a couple of courses. Again, you got to go to my Substack, people, because it's all in the show notes. Bringing Broadway to France.com. Um, all right, my beautiful, gorgeous Trey. I love this conversation. It's so exciting. So, oh, we got to talk about you and your baby. He's not a baby
Yes.
anymore, but
Yes.
oh my gosh. Okay. So many things I still want to talk to you about. But let's talk about you're the author of Black Girl in Love with herself, as she should be. But you also have several programs you mentor, and you have a program coming up called Play in the Box. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, funny enough, talking about self-producing, I have self-produced most of my work, even after the success of The Kink, being a TV show, playing all over, winning NAACP awards, going from England to Los Angeles to New York, all of those things. Um, I still found it really hard to get my second work produced. I had to produce that again by myself. And recently, um, I just finished producing my one woman show, Confessions of a Black Girl Who Should Have Known Better. And it was all around just me really looking. And I called it, when I talked about it, I said, it's that piece of your life where you say, by now, right? And I think we all suffer about that, right? By now, especially when you're women in your 50s and over, right? Like,
Yeah.
by now, I should have had a partner or a husband. By now, I should have had kids. By now, I should have had this amount of money in my bank account. By now, I should have owned my own house. By now, by now, by now. And it really was a reflection on me who brought home my son at age 47 years old, who thought I was bringing home my son. I adopted him. So when I say brought him home, my son is adopted. I thought I was in a loving partnership. I found myself totally raising this child by myself because my partner walked out on me after my son was home less than a week. And
So you
um,
guys on at once.
sorry,
That's a lot. And
a, lo-
that's a
a
lot.
lot. And it was just before the pandemic. I brought my son home in December. My
Perfect.
The pandemic happened in February. So there you go, right? And there was a lot of stuff that when I looked at my life of how I thought it would be, I was like, wow, all of the things that I felt should have happened didn't happen the way I thought it would happen. And what I really wanted to look at, because I felt that people weren't being honest, was that financial piece for me, right? Like, and financial shame that I feel that we don't talk about enough as artists, right? So I had done this big public display around I was going to make my own theater and build my own theater from scratch and come along and follow me. And Cindy, I put every single penny that I had ever earned into opening this theater, right? And it was a black box theater. It's going to be 100 seats. And 2 weeks before we were about to open, I got a notice from the city that they had zoned me incorrectly. And my theater could not open because I was in the wrong zone. I had spent hundreds and thousands of dollars. I could not open this theater. And at that same time, I was also working and teaching at the Toronto District School Board, which was a six-figure contract. I was the playwright in residence. And a week before I was supposed to go back as a playwright in residence, they were under investigation and they shut down all of their contracts. So the six-figure contract that was supposed to be paying all of my bills while my theater is being built, and then my theater would be open, and then I would be making nothing. And I found myself in the most precarious position that I had ever been in my life. I had no savings. I was still, I had no income. I now was a 50 something year old woman trying to get someone to hire me again. Nothing. Nobody was hiring. No, nothing was happening. I was living off my credit cards. And it got to the point where after 8 to 9 months of this, my mother and my sister, thank God, were paying my car notes and my mortgage.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And this was in Toronto, not Atlanta.
No,
You
this
were,
was here in Atlanta. This was
this
just
is here.
here. This was
Okay.
last year. And I was watching everybody on Instagram, and everybody, as you know, when you're watching on Instagram, it looks like everybody's eating off the hog, right? Everybody's living this fabulous, wonderful life and going on all of these wonderful, amazing trips. I remember at one point a friend called me and he was like, "Oh, so and so's coming to town. The tickets are only $400." Right? And I was still calling my mother asking if she could pay my light bill for me. Right? That's how bad it was. And I got to a place of such depression and such shame around this. Very few people knew this was what was going on for me.
Yeah.
And that is how Confessions of a Black Girl came about. Like I said, I want to be really honest about all of the things that I thought by I never thought that I would be 50 and with a successful TV show, a successful play, and I am now nearly in foreclosure with my home. And I wanted to talk about that shame, a financial shame that hits a lot of us as
It
artists that
does.
people don't talk about.
Yeah.
And when I did the play, I had one of my dear friends, Odina Stevens Thompson, to direct it. And there were parts of it that I wanted to take out because, again, that shame. And she said to me, Trey, people need to hear this.
They need
And
to know they're not alone.
they're not alone. And let me tell you, Cindy, I had women bawling in the audience. I had women coming up to me who said, I thought I was the only one. Thank you for sharing this. I talked about what it's like to be dating over 50 with a 6 year old. I have a 6 year old, right? I'm 52
It's
years old,
so cute.
right?
No,
So
I
he's
know.
like, "Hey,
Since I've been
right?"
months, when I see you on social media with them, I'm like, oh my God, he's like,
And I've
amazing.
in perimenopause. I talked about that, right? Like there's nothing more sexier than going on a date and sweating in your salad because you have a hot flash. Right? There's nothing more sexier, that someone's
Oh
gonna
my
be.
God.
That's the girl I want to be with, right?
Yeah. Now you're such a nice gal. Just hold on as I like, put the peace and wipe my pets and
Hold on,
if those two are listening to this, they should be watching us instead with this magic snake and go on.
and it was the most honest and authentic piece of work that I did. I talked about the loneliness. I talked about I never thought I would be at this place in my life and not have someone to go home to, someone to share my day with, someone that if I'm sick, who'd be like, hey, you know what? I can drop him to school. And it was the most rawest, most emotional piece I've ever done. And similar to what you said about your one woman show, girl, I was nowhere even near ready to put it together. Like it went from, oh, I'm producing this to, oh my gosh, I'm not ready. Let's make it a workshop. And I was up there with my script and I was just like, I don't care. I'm going to do this. And I opened for 4 days. We sold out three of the four shows. People
Yes.
afterwards were just like, this is brilliant. And now I'm going to be putting it together to go on tour. But I
Right.
realized what people wanted was people were tired of everybody being like, I used to watch all of these Instagram mummy influencers, and they're sitting there with their perfect children in their all white living rooms, and their children are wearing white. And I can't even find freaking matching socks for my kid on a Monday morning, right? Like I'm
Well,
there
there's a
running
particular
around with
influence here.
socks,
Yeah.
forgetting his lunchbox. And I talked about all of those things in this play. Like I said, I am half of the time my son is eating popcorn for dinner because I haven't gotten it together. Like I haven't figured out how to balance being an artist and also cooking 5 meals a day. Right? I haven't figured that part out. I don't know how they do it, you know? And it was one of the most freeing piece of work that I did. And I also talked about for the longest time, talk about being in the closet. For me as a queer woman, I always felt very scared about actually talking about how much of my relationship is with God. I thought that as someone who's queer, people would be like, how the hell could she talk about being a Christian and being,
Uh-huh.
in relationship with God because she's quote unquote sinning and doing all. And I talked about that, like how much God in all of this has entered my life and how many days I broke down in prayer and how I was just like, God, just tell me what's next. I never thought I would be at this place at age 52 years old. And all of that came into that work. And I realized that so many people needed that healing. And that's for me is walking in your purpose. That I believe every single time something happens to you that you think is the worst thing that could possibly happen to you, it is the universe and God actually nudging you to say, people need to hear from you as an artist. People need to hear exactly what you went through, the trauma, the joy, the laughter, the shame. We need that. And I thank God for this moment that happened to me. I never thought I would be thanking God for that. But I needed to let go and heal myself, but also heal others with what I went through.
Yeah, it's always interesting how sometimes the darkest moments in our life are the things that shape the greatest impact and voice within us.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It
yeah,
is.
it's really quite extraordinary, but it also takes a lot of courage to let go of needing to push, hustle, go let go of needing to be the victim or the martyr, and actually just really surrender, truly surrender, and truly listen. And it's hard to do that, but when you do it, that's when the real transformation comes,
Yeah,
is like, what does this look like? Like in my 2019, I had, and I have to be very careful about how I'd say this. I had let somebody into my life that I kept saying no to. I'm trying to be really careful because I can get sued for this. Um,
oh, girl, I know. Trust me, I
you
know.
know, and I kept saying no to this person. And one day I was in a really bad headspace and I was vulnerable, right? That's what predators do. And I
Yeah.
said yes. And it destroyed my finances. It destroyed my reputation. We went to court. I had over 100 pages of evidence. And the judge said, well, I don't believe he intended to do those things.
Yeah. Mhm.
Men like to, some men like to stick together. And I lost the case. He continued to harass me. I couldn't go to the police because I lost the case.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit right after. And here I am. It practically ruined my reputation.
Mhm.
And I had lost practically everything.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, COVID hits, and I just lost all my singing and acting work and
Mhm.
making really good money on stage as a speaker. And all of a sudden, then I have an emergency surgery. Then I had another major surgery, and I was down for the count for a year and a half. And
Yeah.
I was like, even though it was probably one of the most diabolical, no, I've had worse shit happen to me, or not, nothing happens to me. I've had worse things come up in my
Yeah.
life.
For sure.
But I have to tell you that there is a lot of time lying on my ass after two major abdominal surgeries and having nothing. And thankfully, because of COVID, I was 9 months behind in rent.
Girl.
If
Mhm.
it wasn't COVID, I would have been out of my ass in the middle of the winter in New York City.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but it was that time of lying there with nothing to do. It was the thing that I needed
Yeah. To slow
to
down.
really face myself. And the hardest thing was getting over the shame and the guilt.
The
But
shame.
eventually I realized it's like, stop, stop. It's not your fault. You need to stop victim blaming. You just need to stop self blaming, but instead listen and ask ourselves, like, without shame and guilt as much as possible. Like when I got to the point where I'm like, why did you say yes? What was something deeper that didn't believe that you could do this on your own? You had already built a six-figure business.
Yeah.
Why did you need this person?
Oh.
Or why didn't you need what made you say yes? Why didn't you trust yourself? Why didn't you trust that you could find help, but the help that felt right for you? So it did eventually shift to a very empowered space, but it took a long time.
Yeah. I do believe it's the lessons that the universe needs you to hear,
Yeah.
and for me, it was about what's important. I learned a lot in this space of who shows up for you, right? Especially when you no longer are getting the invites to the red carpet events, when you're no longer the one
Oh,
picking up the tab, when you're no longer the one saying yes, yes, yes. And you will find it will shock you. It will shock you about how much your quote unquote community shrinks down to maybe two or three people,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And that was the biggest learning lesson. And the other biggest learning lesson for me was I didn't need as much as I thought I needed, right? Of like all of the things that I thought I needed and I needed to have. And, I remember one day my son came home and it was so funny because I always used to have like the house full of like snacks and
Oh,
everything
yeah.
else in the pantry. And one day we were down to like barely anything. Like we had like these little Hawaiian rolls that we put in the ninja to toast. And I've always said to my son that we're not rich, we're not poor, we're in the middle, right? And so one day we came home and he opened the pantry and there barely was anything in it. And he goes, Mom, I got a feeling we're a little bit poor right now. I think we're
Oh,
getting a little bit poor
what
right
a
now.
sweetheart.
And I said to him, we might be, but we got food. We still got food, right? And he goes, yeah. And we opened the pantry and we took out our little Hawaiian rolls and we put them in the ninja. We put a little butter and we were happy. And it was those things that made me just go, you don't need all of the excess. It was the first time in my life, Cindy, that I actually knew what was in my freezer at all times, right? It was the first time that I knew exactly how many eggs I had in the cart instead of buying more, right? And it made me realize all of the things that I didn't need, right? And it just brought me to such a simpler place in my life, and what is important. And so I thank God for that. Like I felt like I needed to get to that place of just being like, is the dream of the eight bedroom mansion and the Rolls Royce and the chauffeur, is that really what you need?
Is that really happiness?
Is that
More,
happiness? Or
or
is
more
it
than
sitting
liberty?
there buttering Hawaiian rolls with your little one and sitting down and watching movies together and he's
And
holding your hand?
cuddling
And
and
it's, yeah. and his head is on you and he says, "You're the best, prettiest mommy in the world." Like, those are the kind of moments that I was able to have. And I can't trade those in for anybody, you know? So it's stuff like that I think is really important. Like for us, and I think because we get so caught up in the rat race, we don't give ourselves the time for stillness to actually check in
Mhm.
and say, the dream that I imagine, do I really want that dream at this given point in my life?
That's right.
Yeah.
So before we go, so I know we're coming to the end, we need to talk about play in the box.
Yes.
Tell us about what that is and how you're able to
Yes.
how people would experience how people can learn from you and experience your magic.
Yes. So Play in a Box, it was after doing my one woman show and also of course the success of the kink and all and the book Black Girl in Love with Herself. So many people asked me around self-producing, or they would come up and after seeing confessions would say, "I have a story and I just loved how you told your story and I want to share my story. How do I do it? How do I do it?" And I was like, okay, I'm going to produce a course called Play in the Box, where I will give you every single thing that I have learned along the way around how to tell your stories, what stories to tell,
Mhm.
how to just tell your stories truthfully, and what's the difference between telling your stories truthfully and the difference between being sensational, right? Because a lot of times, too, if we have trauma and things we're working through, we also have to realize how we're selling that to our audience. We want our audience to walk away with some level of, yes, connection, but not being re traumatized,
Such a
right?
big piece that I see that people traumatize our audiences. I mean, you haven't gotten over the hump yet. You gotta wait
Yes.
till you
So wait, right? And how to tell those stories, right? With a little bit of humor in there, a little drama infused in there, also how to market, how to write your first press release, how to find the right theater. What's the difference between a union theater and a non unionized theater? How important is the naming of your show, right? How to price your tickets. So basically, I give you the whole playbook, and that's why it's called Play in a Box. And
well,
I work with you for 5 to 6 weeks, and I guarantee you that once you put your show up, I will work with you to put your show up. You will make back what you invested in the course. And it's for anyone who's ever said, I want to do a one woman show, and I just haven't had the, I don't like to say guts, but the courage maybe, right, to do it. Or I don't know where to start, right? And so I'm like, come work with me. And I'm only working with 5 women. Right now, we have 2 women registered. We're waiting on the other 3, and this could be you. And we meet weekly. It's 2 hours a week, and I bring you through the whole process. It's live. It's on Zoom, so you could be anywhere you want to be. I record it as well, so if you miss it, because I know women get busy, but every single week we dedicate to meet for 2 hours. I read your work, I give you notes on it, and you walk away with a play. You walk away with a play that's ready to be workshopped and put up. And that's
well,
what, and as we both said, we know how much it takes for us to be like, oh my gosh, I just need to start and put this up. So I'm basically the person in your ear going, you're starting.
let's do this. As they say in French, on y va. Let's go.
Let's go. So that's what Play in a Box is. And I would love anybody who's watching who would love to register and work with me. I have the proof. I have the proof is in the pudding.
You
Yeah.
have more than the proof, my darling. I
Yes.
mean, so a whole lifetime plus actual awards that are the top awards in your
Yeah.
country.
Thank you.
Or you're just a little qualified.
Just a
That
little bit. Just a little bit.
this is magnificent. I'm listening, going, "Oh, maybe I need you to look at my play."
Yes, come join the Play the Box, Cindy. Well, you know how to produce as well, but yes. But so
Well,
if you
then
need
I'll
some
do a
training,
one-on-one to look at a couple of things to get some feedback.
yes.
So,
Okay, no
so
problem.
where do people contact you? I know that's all in the show notes, but how
Yes.
to make what's the best way for them to
The
contact?
best way to contact me is really via email, which would be Trey@TreyAnthony.com.
So
Um,
Trey, Trey.
Trey, Trey@TreyAnthony.com. I'm also very active on Instagram, Facebook. On Instagram, I'm under Black Girl in Love. Instagram, I'm under, sorry, Facebook, I'm under my name, and LinkedIn. But I would definitely say email or through my website, treyanthony.com, or a direct email to me. My assistant checks it, but I do get everything that people ask. And especially if you're interested in the play in the box, just put it in the subject line, play in the box, and it will definitely get in to me. But that's where you can find me. That's where I'm at. And also Substack. I just recently joined Substack
Oh, nice Substack.
less than a month ago, so I'm
All
trying
my
to get it.
listeners are like, yes, we know Cindy loves Substack enough.
I just don't know anything about it. I'm still trying to figure it out.
We'll have an
So
offline conversation
we
about
need
it.
to, because even when you said meet me on Substack, I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know that you
Girl, I
could do this.
monetize on my, not this Substack is new, but I on my other article, I monetize on that one.
Oh wow. I need to
We're
talk
having
to
a
you. Well, maybe that's the
conversation.
exchange we'll do. I'll read your play, you help me with Substack.
Okay, that sounds perfect. So go to the Substack to get all our contact information if you haven't written it down already. Bring Broadway to Fringe.com. Trey, I loved you when I met you 20 something years ago. I don't remember how we met. I don't remember how we met. I still love you now.
Thank
And
you,
I'm
Cindy.
so
Same
grateful
here.
that we're connected, that this podcast brought us together again. You were
Thank
truly
you.
remarkable on so many levels, artistically, heart wise, connection to spirit wise, just
Thank you.
true, was truly deeply wise and connected. And we need more, and fucking hilarious. We need more of you in the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if I ever come to event, then we'll do some crazy shit together.
Yes, and I need to come to Paris. I need to eat a
Oh,
croissant or
I'm
something.
niece now. I escaped the cold weather of Paris. It's like London weather in the winter, like for 8 months.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'll still come.
I'm in South of France. Your son will love playing in the beach.
That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do.
All
I love
right.
it. Well,
Everybody
thank you
keep
so much,
tuning in.
Cindy. Thank
Oh,
you.
my joy. À la prochaine, everybody.